Summer is here, and so is a new lineup of PFC merchandise with swimsuits, swim trunks, beach towels. As you're getting ready for a day at the beach, or if you're going to the ball game, you can rock the new jerseys and the new hats featuring the great shows and logos of the PFC Entertainment Network. The teams on the fields are not the only ones being represented. But if you're out manning the grill, preparing for a barbecue, you can keep your drinks cold with a variety of new koozies and keep yourself protected with new aprons. If you're going out on the water, there is a variety of outdoor activities that you can purchase to show your fandom with flags, pickleball sets, frisbees, golf balls, and other outdoor activities. Featuring the great logos of the PFC network. You can check it out at your official PFC Summer store, pfcsummer.printify.me, your official summer lineup of the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
This episode is rated M for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
Where's the date? And that's when to go on.
Go ahead. It's my day.
And the masters of the universe.
Something that you enjoy, like TV Guide.
Oh, yeah!
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I pity the fool.
And we welcome you to What the 80s here on the PFC Entertainment Network, along with Jill Bain. I'm Jason Klaus. We certainly appreciate you tuning in here this week and your patience because we were off the air last week, but we're back here this week. And if you are just listening to us on the RSS feed on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, I would encourage you to hit the pause button because this is going to be a visual type of episode here, Jill, given the topic that we're going to tackle here this week. But before we get to that and before we look at this day in 80s history, how the hell are you? How's things in your neck of the woods?
I'm exhausted. It's been 2 long weeks. I don't know how third shift did it, working every freaking work available Saturday last month, but I just did 2 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dumb ass decided that last day to do a 13-hour day and work some overtime. So I'm tired.
I bet you are. I have no doubt you are. Because when you had said that, you had gone in for additional overtime, I'm over here, thinking, Jesus Christ, are you okay? What's going on? I don't do overtime if I can be honest with you. I mean, unless it's mandatory, they get me, bare minimum, and I was like, I'll give them everything I got while I'm there. But once I'm out, I'm out. I got more important shit to spend my time on.
Yeah.
I.e. this show,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I figured with some spending that we had done recently and that we needed to because the dryer went to be used the other night. It was making this god awful noise. And now I'm going to back up a little bit. When we bought the washer and dryer set that we have, it was like when we moved into this house because we had lost everything in that fire, so we had nothing. So
Right.
we had went to a store and got like a reconditioned set And I mean, 8 years already, and we're on the appliance plan for consumers. So anytime we call, we don't pay for the service call. We don't pay for them to fix it. It's guy came and said, yeah, nothing can be done with this. So
Mm.
a new dryer had to be bought.
That's unfortunate. It's too bad that our weather pattern wasn't as such where you could just hang your shit up on clotheslines outside and let nature do its work. But
Yeah.
now, appliance breakdowns and replacements, man, they happen at the most inopportune time, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do.
So, I'm sorry to hear that, but the good news is the silver lining is you got a brand new dryer, so that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm ready for that.
All right. Anything else happening?
I have a trip planned. And I have to eat my words of when I said that I wasn't born with wings. I would never fly. And that's happening.
You know what I find funny about that is that we just talked about it. I mean,
Yep.
just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about my going out to Las Vegas and flying out there. And, we got into a conversation about it. A couple of weeks later, well, things have changed on our side of things here. So listen, it's not going to be bad, especially at the time that you're going to be going. So it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. They do serve alcohol on these things, and just in case, if you need like a pregame warm up, well, I would certainly encourage that as well. Just to kind of relax you. But no, when we went out to Vegas, we didn't really have any issues. Coming or landing in Vegas, there was a little bit of turbulence, but I mean, nothing where I was like, "Holy shit!" We're going, we're going down. There wasn't it was just like a bump in the road, just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that was weird, but it was okay. We survived, so that's going to be fun though. You kind of gave me an idea of what you guys were doing. And I'm like, wow, what a cool thing to look forward to. So
Yeah.
I'm
And
happy
my
for you about
main
that.
thing is, like I told you, the room where we're going to be staying, their claim to fame is that Sam Elliott stayed there. So I tell people, because the bed has changed. So I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to sleep in the same bed Sam Elliott did, because that's long gone. It's 30 years ago.
Sure.
But I will be pooping where Sam Elliott pooped.
I don't know why I find that so fucking funny, but I oh my gosh, that's great. Well, that's. Do you want me to make you up some T-shirts or something like that? Throw them on the online store, which is over at pfcstore.printfi.me. I know a guy. I can make that happen.
That might be a necessity.
Oh Jesus! When's your birthday? Is it coming up here pretty quick? It could be a birthday gift. All right.
November, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I got time. Great. All right. Let's take a look. I mean, I don't know how else we're going to make a transition from that to this, but let's go ahead and take a look at this as this show drops on the traditional RSS feed. This has become a favorite segment on the show based on the feedback that I get. They really appreciate looking back on this day in 80s history because we bring up a lot of things that people have forgotten about. So that's fun.
Yeah, I
All
think it's
right.
a fun little trip down
The
memory lane.
headlines. Yeah. It gives you a snapshot,
Hmm.
and you can kind of see, especially when we start looking at what the number one songs were every year on this day, you're like, wow, what you can really see the transition in music. It's laid
Hmm.
out in black and white. Like, well, what was number one in 1980 and 1989? Holy hell, they could be on further ends of the spectrum, but
Right.
that's the fun part about it. Um, in 1987, on this day, May the 7th, Shelley Long made her final appearance as a regular on Cheers, playing the role of Diane Chambers for 5 seasons, and this would open the door for Kirstie Alley to come in and the next season. We've kind of talked about this a little
Hmm.
bit. I feel like we were both um, bigger fans of the Kirstie Alley character. Is that accurate?
Yeah, Diane Chambers was a bitch.
That's for damn sure. In 1988, the final episode of The Facts of Life aired. It ran for 9 seasons with 209 episodes. That was a fun show. I really enjoyed the Facts of Life.
Hmm.
You know, and a lot of people who grew up fans of the Brat Pack, specifically Molly Ringwald. Um, she was actually on the first season
Yeah,
of The Facts of Life, and not a lot of people know that. So if you
yeah,
want to see a very young Molly Ringwald
looking like a
prior
mushroom
to,
with that hair.
yeah, she did. Yes, she did. Um, but yeah, that's where she got her real first big national break. What was on
Yeah.
that show? Then we saw George Clooney.
Yep.
We were kind of introduced to him on that show.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, really enjoyed that show. All right, let's look at people who were born on this day that may have been relevant to us in the 1980s. Not a lot, if I could be, if I can be honest with you. Thelma Houston, the singer, was born in 1946. Randall Tex Cobb, actor, former professional fighter, and a football player, was born in 1950, as was Bernie Marston, the guitarist for Whitesnake. Director Amy Heckerling, who directed Fast Times at Ridgemont High, was born on this day. And
God, I love
actor,
that movie.
yeah, yeah, one of them cult classics. Um, Michael E. Knight, actor from All My Children. Longtime fans of that soap opera will know him. And Tracy Lords, was a porn star. So
Oh, I
great,
thought you were
great
going to go
group
the
there.
other way and say country singer.
So sorry to disappoint.
Because I was like, he's not from
Um,
the 80s, but okay.
Also born on this day is the late Owen Hart. Our wrestling fans obviously will know that name.
God, that's such a
Uh,
sad story.
yeah, you know, that's one of those things, Jill, that I will always remember where I was at when all that shit unfolded, how it went down, oh God, just awful, just awful. On this day, we lost country singer Eddie Rabbit.
Mm,
Yeah, I really liked that Eddie Rabbit. My mom loved that dude. I remember
my mom, too.
yeah, they went and seen him at Pine Knob, and I
Oh,
remember she had bought an Eddie Rabbit T-shirt, and I don't know
okay.
why I remember that, but like She loved her some Eddie. I don't mind telling you. All right. Movies released on this day. I don't think I've seen hardly any of these things. Um, in 1982, uh, Diner with Steve Guttenberg and Daniel Stern. Paradise with Phoebe Cates and Willie Ames. Death Valley with a bunch of Peter Billingsley was in that movie. Jesus, never heard of it. The Forbidden World with Jesse Vint and Dawn Dunlap, and Salsa was released in 1988. I kind of remember Salsa being a ripoff of
Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing. Yes, could be wrong, but I feel like that's what I remember about that movie. On this day in 1983, Stevie Wonder hosted Saturday Night Live, and this provided some funny sketches with Eddie Murphy playing it. Oh my God, it was fucking hilarious. 1988, we saw the final episode of Spencer for Hire. Were you a fan of that show?
I don't remember really ever watching it. Because that was Robert Urich, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't remember watching it. I know I saw several like made for TV movies that he was in, but yeah.
Looking at the sports front here, there's a lot of Kentucky Derby. This is Derby weekend, and we just had this year's yesterday, as a matter of fact. I actually sat down and watched this goddamn thing. Like I didn't watch all like the pregame bullshit. Like just when the race was on, and I was like, I don't think I've ever sat down and watched a horse race before. So it was, but to hear the commentators, man, they get into that shit, and I can appreciate that. You know what I mean? So we're not going to spend a lot of time focusing on the sports thing this week, other than in 1989, in one of the best matches of all time, the second of a trilogy between these two. Ric Flair beat Ricky the Dragon Steamboat for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. So, look, I wouldn't be me if I didn't mention shit like that, Okay. Other notable news? Nothing in the 80s. Okay. Here are the number one songs on this day every year of the 1980s. In 1980 was Call Me by Blondie. 1981 was Morning Train by Sheena Easton.
My mom loved that song. I can't tell you how many times I had to listen to that. Oh my God.
Oh man, yeah. As soon as I seen that, like it's one of those I can hear the melody going to.
Yep.
Yep. 82, continuing an incredible stretch at number one, I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. 83 was Beat It by Michael Jackson. 84, Against All Odds by our good friend Phil Collins. 85, We Are the World, USA for Africa. 86, one of my favorite 80s songs. I mean, it's in the top 5. Robert Palmer, Addicted to Love. Love that song. 87, I Just Died in Your Arms by the Cutting Crew. Hate that song. 88, Wishing Well by Terence Trent D'Arby. And 1989, the controversial Like a Prayer by Madonna. And those are your this day in the 1980s.
A lot of women compared to other weeks.
Yeah. Yep, I noticed that too. Certainly did. Now, Jill, this week's show is going to be a little bit different. Like I said at the top of the program here, because I went ahead, full disclosure, and to peel the curtain back. I am somebody that if I am in a particular frame of mind, either to the extreme left or the extreme right, I feel like that's when I get my most creative.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all the time thinking about what can I do to boost up the presentation of the different shows, make each show stand out. And I started thinking about this show. You know, the Sports Reel podcast, which you see live Wednesday nights, and then you can hear it on the RS feed on Thursdays. That's too easy. It's easy to pull graphics up and of athletes or what stats or whatever the hell that we're talking about. But I wanted this show to stand out from that and every other show that we do here. And we tackle a lot of lists. And a lot of the lists, unless you lived in that era, you have no shit and idea what we're talking about.
True.
So I'm like, man, I had some time this weekend and I was able to rechannel a lot of energy into making this a visual presentation for the show. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the list that I have is 35. I didn't go 35. I just went 30 because I ran. If I can be honest, I ran out of time. But we're going to be looking at 30 things we used daily in the 1980s. And a lot of these will have visual correspondence, pictures. Okay. So if you're just listening to this, you know, that's great. And we do appreciate that. But if you have the capability to watch this on the Spotify feed or on our YouTube channel, you would probably get more out of it. Jill, I sent you this list earlier this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, this just came across my radar. What do you think about this for a topic? As you scrolled through the list,
Which I didn't.
you didn't.
No, I've got it up right now, but I wanted to be surprised as we got into things.
Okay. Well, then let's just get right into this shit. Like I said, they have they have 35 of them. I just pulled for the top 30 in their order here, and we have corresponding pictures for the majority of them. Some of them are pretty self-explanatory, so so I didn't bother going because it's a process. You know what I mean? All right, number 1, the waterbed. Now, I don't know. My parents did not have a waterbed. Mm-hmm. They did not have any desire to have a waterbed, but our next door neighbors did. And we just found this to be so fascinating. And we wondered if there was truly water in there. It's a young kid, you know what I mean? But a lot of families had that waterbed. Where are you at with the waterbed thing?
My mom did not have a waterbed. I was never on a waterbed until Roy. Roy had a waterbed, and I fucking hate it. I hated it.
Why?
First of all, I didn't think it was comfortable.
Okay.
And then if you rolled over, you got stuck in between the mattress and the frame. Hated it.
Oh man. Like I've sat on one, but I've never slept in one. You know what I mean? But then you started hearing horror stories of holes getting popped in it and flooding your whole house. How many sitcoms portrayed that scenario in the 80s? All of a sudden there's a rush of water that comes downstairs, down the stairs, perfectly down the stairs, into the living room and shit like that. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and my thing was always how many gallons are in here?
Right.
And do you have to change it cuz wouldn't it get moldy?
You wouldn't think so, right?
Yeah, I just I had a teacher when I was going to night school that came up with, and I probably shouldn't even say this, but it was basically a waterbed and an electric blanket. And if you really want to get rid of somebody, you poke a hole and let your mind figure out the rest because
Right.
and I'm like, why would you tell, I mean, it was adults, but still, why would you ever say this out loud?
Oh, that's great. Now, number two, a lot. I mean, I know it's. I don't know. It the in this day and age, the family dynamic is seemingly different
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people. There, that what is considered the norm back in the day is no longer a thing now. I can remember going to my cousin's house or them coming over to our house and, really spending time with our extended family. And it seemed like no matter whose house we went to, we went to a house that looked like this. Couple of things that stand out to me. Number one, the wood paneling walls. We had a family room in our house that had wood paneling walls, and that furniture, Jill. Prince, not Prince the singer. I'm talking about like graphics sewn into furniture was so popular. We had one that was like a farm setting with like pumpkins and old barns and a tractor, there was other ones that had flowers, and printed furniture was all the rage back in the
Mm-hmm.
1980s. Did you guys have something like that?
We didn't. My mom was a little different. She wasn't a fan of like the flowery patterns and things like that. I can remember growing up, ours was like velvet. It
Mm,
was like a cream
mm-hmm.
color velvet.
I know what I know what you're talking about.
And if you sat on it, it left imprints. And my mom hated it.
Mm.
Like, so as soon as you got up, even if you got up to go to the bathroom and no company, she would have to hurry up and fix it. And yeah.
You're going to sit right back down in the same spot. It's going to wind up,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. This next one, man. If you want to talk about audio entertainment, you had to have a good stereo system. And back
Mm-hmm.
in the '80s, the bigger was the better. The
Mm-hmm.
biggest tower, the most shit that you could hook up, equalizers and all this other stuff. But it was also encased in a glass case.
Mm-hmm.
My parents had this. Now, what you're seeing here, if you're watching on this, on the very top is your vinyl turntable. You had to have a vinyl turntable because vinyl albums were still very much a thing in the 1980s. Right under that was your equalizer with all your little knobs and levers and gimmicks to get that perfect sound, to get that treble right where you needed it. And then you
Yep.
had your cassette deck, another equalizer below that, and then down here, Jill, was the 8-track player. Oh my God! And then your master volume, your speaker settings right under the hair, and then on the bottom generally is where you kept your vinyl albums. So
Mm-hmm.
I saw this and like I popped hard because I was like, "Yep, my parents had that very same setup in the same glass case, and it really took me back to 1983, 84, 85, that part of the decade." So that was a fun find for me.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anything like that?
My middle brother did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where he would get the shit, and honestly, I don't want to know really. But my brother had so much, and he was always upgrading the equalizer and just crazy.
Really was. You know what else was crazy? It's puffy stickers. We talked about these a couple of weeks ago, but
Yep.
oops, geez, Pete, that went fast. Here we have the Garfield and the Smurfs, and if you kind of dial in on this, you can kind of see, because I actually had a younger gentleman at work ask me what were puffy stickers. I was like, bro, what are you, 22 or something? He's like, actually 21. I'm like, oh, okay, well then I get it.
All right. Well, go
But
change your diaper, and because you're a baby.
no disrespect, but if you really dial in, you can kind of see how these things are elevated. You know, they're puffy stickers. They push down on them, and they weren't just made out of paper. There was something to them.
Yeah.
And I really, these were great examples, two of the more popular um, franchises for, geared towards kids in the
Mm-hmm.
80s with Garfield and the Smurfs. Now, this next one I am not familiar with. I'll be honest, I did not play with the spirograph. Um, like, I was aware of it. It was available in our classrooms at school.
Mm-hmm.
Other kids played with it. They loved it. I didn't understand it. I don't. It was never a thing for me. You?
Nope. Here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, some people could sit there and do it, and the more you did it, the better it looked, like
Mm-hmm.
more filled in, and but I never thought it was fun to sit there and just with anything, just
Oh, I hear you.
in circles. Yippee. And it had
I
different
know.
holes where if you moved it, it changed the design a little bit. And no, it was never my thing. I get where people would like it. It just wasn't. Mm-mm.
Too much.
Yeah.
Now, when we were younger, I feel like we spent a stupid amount of time
Yes.
playing the water ring toss game
Yep.
and trying to get. I don't know how it was for you, but it would always be the last two I could not get in.
Nope.
It pissed me off every fucking time.
Every time.
To the I don't think I ever overcame this game. I don't think I was ever able to get every ring on the ring toss.
Mm-mm.
So whoever came up with that was a genius,
Yeah,
because
oh
that
yeah.
occupied kids for hours on it,
Yeah, I would.
to the delight of parents.
I want to say my oldest brother had that one, and I had like a miniature version of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I I played it like you said a stupid amount of time. It like a lot.
Yeah, it was too much time, too much time. But
Yeah.
that's what it was all about. Classic too. Another thing that was classic, and I was sad to learn that they had just filed for bankruptcy um, at some point. But the classic Tupperware. Now, I know my mom had these, my grandma had these very colors. I think there may have been a green one too. I feel like there were green ones,
Yeah.
but the classic
Yep.
Tupperware.
I do
Jill,
feel.
before you had said something with the Tupperware. They actually made kid size ones, right?
Yep.
Was that the
Or
Tupperware?
like plate. Yep.
I
My
think
mom
Jill
ordered it
froze.
from the Tupperware catalog, and sorry,
Okay.
my granddaughter's out there having a fit. I don't know if you can hear it. But yeah, there was for like play kitchens, and it was a set of plates and the miniature like cake container with the little, you put it on the base and then you put the cover over it, and then it had the handles that went around and you could carry it around. I love that damn thing.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Tupperware. That's just such a it's such an iconic brand. It doesn't get talked about a whole lot when you start when you're like, hey, tell me about the '80s. There's a number of things that people will rattle off first, but I mean Tupperware. When you start doing deep dives, man, that was an institution. Like there wasn't hardly a kitchen that didn't have something with that was from the Tupperware company, much like the alarm clocks that seem to be on every nightstand in America.
Yeah.
Everybody had this clock. If you go into certain hotels nowadays, you can see something similar to this. But man,
Yeah.
this is a piece of iconic history from the 1980s. Everybody had this thing.
Everybody.
GE, General Electric, put that one out. This was a fun find. I had forgotten about this next little ditty here that kids for a minute were clamoring for, especially going back to school and you're getting your school supplies. You get your trapper keepers, you get your folders, you get your rulers. But by God, don't forget the pencils with the cartridges in them. The little cartridges, each with a little piece of lead that once that piece ran out, you pulled it out and boop, a next one dropped down. You
Yep.
had these, didn't you?
I certainly did. I got a 4-pack that had like pink, purple, green, and blue. I love them damn things.
So I think we all did. And it makes me wonder why they seemed like they vanished just as fast as they popped up. Like all of a sudden they were all the rage. I'm like, man,
Yep.
I guess maybe in lieu of the mechanical pencils that would come out later on with the longer pieces of lead that
And I hated those.
I did too. They broke too easy.
Yes.
Way too easy.
That lead was shit.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, we couldn't even use them to do our schoolwork. They wanted the number 2 pencil. So what the fuck was the point of even having them?
Yep.
All right, number 10 here. Now, this shit was right in my wheelhouse. To this day, Jill, I've got 2 boxes over here full of the blank VHS tapes. And every one of these tapes that I have now has an episode of Saturday Night's Main Event or WWF Superstars or a pay-per-view or Raw or SmackDown. MWO stuff, like the earlier MWO stuff, I have on these VHS tapes, man. And like anybody that wanted to buy me anything could just get me a pack of like a 5-pack of blank tapes, and I was a happy dude.
Yep.
Happy dude.
Yep. I like that Memorex, the one with the pink on it. That was like huge. That and Kodak, the Kodak ones were big in my house. Yeah, everything, like when pay-per-view came out, my mom would order a movie that she wanted and we'd record it. And I mean, I would record Headbangers Ball. I recorded one of the things that up until, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, one thing I had that my husband and I would watch very regularly was one of Sam Kinnison's stand-up shows.
He's been popping up on my TikTok feed a lot here lately,
Yeah.
and I forget how funny that dude
Oh my
is.
god.
He
Loved.
was a riot, controversial as shit, but man, he was so damn funny.
Oh my god. I could. Yeah. I could never get enough of him. Like I loved Sam Kinison.
Now, along those lines, as a sidebar, where you at? I when people express a fandom towards 80s stand-up comedy and comics, Sam Kinison is, he's often mentioned. George Carlin, we've talked about. Richard Pryor, we've talked about. Eddie Murphy. Where's Andrew Dice Clay on your list? Did you find him funny?
Some things. Some things. And I recently watched, like, they have the dark side of wrestling. They also have the dark side of comedy. There was an
Yeah,
episode about him. And I am never been easily offended by like sexist jokes or anything like that, but he was just, and I get it was his persona, but he was just such a dick.
yeah, yeah. He was one of those guys. Like, he was funny in my view, he
Mm-hmm.
was funny for about the first 20 minutes, and
Mm-hmm.
then it became repetitive and increasingly vulgar, just for
Mm-hmm.
the sake of being vulgar, not trying to be funny, just
Mm-hmm.
for that shock value,
Yeah.
because he was coming in right at that time when there was a concentrated effort. The more shock, the more
Mm.
attention you got.
Yeah.
And he really fed into that. And I watched that same thing that
Mm-hmm.
you were talking about, the dark side of comedy. I think it's on Vice.
Mm-hmm.
I think I watched it on Hulu or something
Yeah.
like that. But when I saw that there was an episode on him, I'm like, oh, I'm interested. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I would just You had mentioned Sam Kinison because they were kind of on that
Competitors a
same
little bit.
genre, but Sam Kinison actually put more thought into his presentation.
Yeah.
Not to say he didn't raise eyebrows, but it was I don't know. It's just different. All right, back to the list here. I still have these: the casserole dish with the pretty blue flowers on them. My
Mm-hmm.
mom had the whole set. I still have the whole set, Jill.
They had plastic ones for kids. I had that. So I had a set of those. My mom didn't. She had other, like the Pyrex, but I was scrolling through one of those like cheap ordering things, and they have shirts that have that on there.
Is that right?
Yep.
Why didn't I think of that? That would have been the easiest thing to screen print.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, God damn it. Drop the ball is what I did.
Yeah.
I dropped the ball. All right, the next few here, I didn't pull the pictures of. We'll go through them real quick. A couple of these I think we've talked about in previous episodes, such as the Fisher Price toy barn that makes the moo sound when you open the door. I
Mm.
remember playing with these little bastards.
See, I would like to find the little noise, the little speaker or noise or the little apparatus and put it on my refrigerator. So every time I open the fridge, I hear moo, and then it'll make me want to close it and not eat.
Oh, that's funny. Earlier in the show, we showed the picture of what the traditional cousin's house looked like. The
Mm-hmm.
number 13 here was turning your spare bedroom into a nostalgic oasis. It's pretty much the same thing, and there's going to be other pictures here in a little bit that will kind of tie it all in together. But you had your TV console with either your HBO box or your video game system in there, a couple of chairs or a couch, a couple of end tables, an ottoman to kick your feet up on, Don't forget your cool lamps and your ashtrays. You know,
Yep.
it was a whole set.
There is an antique shop in Freeland, and someone had posted, I'm like, I gotta go there. I had never been to that one before, and one of their displays looks exactly like that. It looks like someone just late 70s, early 80s just threw everything together, and that the whole vendor area looks like somebody's living room or family room from that time. It's crazy.
I can appreciate that. In Freeland, you said?
Hmm.
I'd like to go check that out, actually. Maybe we'll take a camera
Yeah, it's
crew
a pretty
with
cool little
us. And
place.
yeah, uh, maybe we'll go on location and film a segment for an upcoming episode. Number
That would be
14
cool.
here, playing Trivial Pursuit. I didn't pull the graphic for this. Was this on your radar?
You know, I remember one of my classrooms had like the kids version, but I never really played until, oh my God, what system? I don't know. My husband had it for like one of the systems, and we would like sit down and, we pick our teams and we would play it on, it was a PlayStation. I want to say it was his PlayStation 2, and we would play it.
Hmm.
But that's probably the most experience I have with Trivial Pursuit is playing the video game version.
I can understand that. I think I played it a handful of times, but it wasn't anything that I found to be overly fun. Not like number 15 here, because here's the thing. We were kids in the 1980s. This is the time that we grew up in. So things that like I have fond memories of maybe the most obscure and dumbest things. You know, in addition to our favorite movies and TV shows and music and all that shit. But it was the little things in life that I remember to this day, and seeing this picture really took me back to especially summer. You know, once we're out of school, we're outside playing ball, we're cutting the grass, we're doing our chores, we're doing this, we're doing that. We come in for Kool-Aid and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but the Kool-Aid came in these fun assorted colored plastic cups. Did you guys have these?
Tupperware, yes.
Was this a Tupperware brand?
Yep.
God damn.
Yep. My mom got those, and I have two brothers. So there was three kids. So I chose the green one. My middle brother had the yellow one. My oldest brother had the red one. And the blue one was for hair washing.
I get it. I totally get it. Oh my god. See, it's another
Yep.
one of those things that was that was part of our growing up that unless you were there, you just don't know.
Yep.
God
If you
damn
could
it.
look at the bottom of those, you would see the little Tupperware rings.
Okay. I didn't realize that was a Tupperware thing, so that's fun. Now, um, a lot of people sewed back in the 80s, specifically our grandmothers, knitting afghans and different, just all kinds of different things. My grandma had one of these. So
My grandmas
when
were
I saw,
broken because they didn't do that shit.
look, if you were a if you were a crocheter, if you were a knitter, if you did anything with thread and needle, you had to have the tomato pin cushion. This is where you put all your spare pins. And what I didn't notice until just now is it looks like it comes with a little additional strawberry down here, and I'm not exactly sure why. Isn't that what that's supposed to be?
I
Is this for
think
your smaller
so.
pins?
And I know it has a purpose, but I don't know it. My mom was a sewer, but did not have a pincushion. We discussed this earlier. And
Mhm.
I remember my mom saying what it was for, but I don't remember.
It's too bad. I would like to get to the bottom of this. I mean, I guess I could Google it, but I've got so much other shit open on my screen right now. I don't want to fuck anything up. Now, earlier in the show, we showed you what the room looked like, the family room, the living room, wood paneling, certain printed furniture, your end tables, your alarm clocks. Let's show you what the kitchen floor looked like generally back in the 1980s, and it wasn't too far off from this. Just maybe a different color or variation. How many how many floors in your lifetime, Jill, have you seen like this? And the bathroom. Yep. When I did when I worked in the apartment maintenance industry, we would go in and refurbish the apartments for the next tenant. So we would get a couple because it was an older property. We would get a couple of vacants that people had moved out but had lived there for like 25 to 30 years since the place opened, right? And you go in there to replace the floors in there in the bathroom and in the kitchen, and it looked like this. And so when I saw this picture, I'm like, damn. I mean, it still had the avocado green appliances. Like this shit was like walking into 1982. You know what I mean? But it was in the late 90s. It was like, wow, what the shit? You know, this is weird. All right. Um, who else destroyed their bedroom walls taping posters directly to them? Guilty as charged. I did that. My, I mean, I was respectful, but still, once you pulled that tape off, part of the paint was coming off too, because they didn't have the cool paint that they have nowadays, where you can pretty much do anything to it and it's going to be fine. It is. It was. Yeah, my parents were not happy with the fact that I would tape my posters to the walls. Did you get in trouble for that shit? I feel like, and I didn't pull the picture for it, but I feel like this could have been your bedroom here. Brilliant, great idea. Yeah, that's brilliant. Smart thinking there. Yep. Wish wish I could have done that. Instead, I just taped the shit to the wall, or I used the push pin. So there's a bunch of pinholes, and what the fuck, right? Yeah, it was not a good day because well, back then we had wallpaper. You know, my mom wallpapered everything, and once we got older and we were redoing the room and stuff, then you really got to see how what kind of damage I actually did to those walls with my posters. Oh, number 19. this one threw me back to summertime, being out of school, because we got orange juice in the can. Oh man, that went fast. We would legitimately get our orange juice frozen in these paper or cardboard cans that you pop the top open, dump the shit into the pitcher, and then add 3 cups of cold water. Boom, instant orange juice. And it looks like we may have lost Jill, but hopefully she can get back in here in just a moment. While we're waiting for her, though, what we can do is run a quick timeout, and we'll try to get Jill back on here. And oh, here she is right there. Okay.
Sorry.
Jill Bain has returned to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Jill, did you see the orange juice in the can?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my favorite.
Okay. You know, and it wasn't just Minute Maid they came out. It seems like there was a whole end of the frozen section at the grocery store. They had a variety of different brands of frozen juice. Five Alive comes to mind. Do you remember Five Alive?
I do. I remember that very well. I think my favorite was like the orange pineapple. I loved the orange pineapple.
Yes.
Am I here?
100%. Another one was strawberry, banana, orange, or something like that. That with that little hint of banana in there. God damn!
I don't
that
think
stuff
Riverside
good.
likes me.
So good. All right. The next few here I didn't pull graphics for. They're pretty self-explanatory. The electric carving knife. These were real popular around the holidays. Did you guys have one of these? We lost
Which one?
Jill again.
Oh, the electric carving knife?
Technology, man. Oh, wait, she's coming back on.
Is that what you were talking about? The electric carving knife?
Well, she's got a screen up, but it is completely black. I cannot. Jill, I don't know if you can hear me, but your screen is completely black, and I cannot hear you. Not really sure what's happening here. We also talked about a couple of weeks ago, and they have it's number 21 on this list. Candy cigarettes. I mean, just the whole premise of that is just in this day and age is so fucking dumb. Why the people thought this was a good idea? Well, I mean, I got to a degree. I think I can understand, because smoking wasn't looked upon the way it is nowadays. You know, it was, you know, if you were cool, if you wanted to, you know, look like an outlaw, like you look at the promotional material for Marlboro and the Marlboro Man and, you know, the Man's Man and all that bullshit. Sadly, I got sucked into that. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and run a quick timeout and see if we can't get Jill back on here. Figure out what's happening with her feed. We'll be right back with more of What the 80s here on the PFC Entertainment Network.
In the ring or behind the scenes, go beyond the headlines of professional wrestling's biggest stars and events. Every other week, tune in and be a part of the conversation as the Fatal 4-Way breaks it all down. Tune in to ONTV's Facebook page for the Fatal 4-Way, Michigan's only call-in pro wrestling talk show. Tag into the action with the Fatal 4-Way exclusively on ONTV as a part of the PFC Entertainment Network.
Welcome back to What the
Can you
80s
see me yet?
here on the PFC Entertainment Network. I don't
Can you
really
see me?
know how this is going to work out in terms of post production and what is being recorded by Riverside right now. But Jill's screen is completely black. It says that she's on the call, but her screen is completely black, and I cannot hear her. And I don't know if she can hear me. So we will go ahead and continue on here. Um, another thing that we had in the 1980s, and I don't know why these things got to be so popular. A little bit ago, we talked about the multicolored plastic cups. It came in sets of 4 generally. Pizza Hut's drinking glasses were something of a status symbol for a hot minute. I don't understand why we didn't have Pizza Hut around where we lived. If we wanted that, we had to drive out of town to find the nearest Pizza Hut. But the red drinking glasses were something of a collectible, and it's, again, to me, they weren't anything all that special. If I was going to break out the fine china, if I had real good company that was on its way, I would be breaking out the WWF glasses, if I'm being honest with you. No, not really, because I wouldn't let anybody near those. All right. I wish I had had the presence of mind to group several of these as one. Probably would have saved some time. But we saw what the living room or the family room looked like in the 80s with the wood paneling and all that. We saw what the kitchen floor or the bathroom floor generally looked like at one time or the other. But in every living room, you had a big TV console type of thing. And attached to most of them, especially around 1985, 86, was the Nintendo. And here on this particular picture, they have Super Mario fired up. Excuse me, man. I don't know if I got the hiccups or what the hell's happening. Things are falling apart here in the latter part of the show. I still can hear Jill, but the Nintendo has been a staple. We've talked about it on the show that preceded this one, and we've mentioned it a few times here on this particular broadcast. But yeah, the Nintendo was a big one. Now, okay, the 80s were known for pretty obscure toys. And I guess obscure is not the right word. We had iconic franchises. For boys it was G.I. Joe and Star Wars and Masters of the Universe. Eventually, the WWF wrestling superstars. For the girls, you had your Barbies, your Strawberry Shortcakes, other franchises that were geared specifically towards them. Then we had stuff like the Wii-Lo. Now they still make a variation of this game, and I found myself getting so mesmerized by this to make the wheel go in and out of the frame without falling off. And I didn't understand how the hell this thing worked. I would sit there for a long time and just watch this thing do its thing, and it's like, how the hell is this happening? Back in the day, you didn't really look to think, all right, this is why this is happening. Where you at on the Wheelo?
On the what?
The Wheelo. Do you remember this thing?
I thought that was the dumbest thing ever.
Jill's back with us here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm good. I'm glad you were able to get back on here.
It's not
What
doing
happened?
anything better.
I can hear you.
Okay. I thought that was the dumbest thing ever.
I'm with you, but I found myself so mesmerized by it. Like, how is this happening? How is this wheel going up and in and like what the shit? But again, I wasn't there to figure out how it worked. It's just the snap of the wrist, man. Yeah, that thing's
Yeah.
I don't know. It was overrated in my view.
Yeah, I would tend to agree.
While I don't know if you saw or not, but um, the Nintendo was very prominent in a lot of living rooms, especially on TV sets that
Hmm.
look like this. We talked a little bit about this while we were having some technical issues there, but and then it gets down to, for me, like I saw this is what really resonated in terms of your home video games system. The classic Atari, man. Atari with
Yep.
Pac-Man. It got no more 80s than that. Do you guys have
No more eight.
an Atari?
Yes. Yep, we definitely had the Atari. I can remember Pitfall. That was an Atari game, wasn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I used to play.
Pitfall.
That was
That was a fun
Pitfall
game.
Harry. That was one of my favorites.
Absolutely. Um, we talked about the furniture and the way these houses and these living rooms worked or looked like. And here's another example of what the classic 1980s couch looked like.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
can I direct your attention to the table? Yes, that is a can of Budweiser sitting on. You had your lamp, you had your radio, and you had your can of Budweiser on the couch right
Definitely.
next to you. And that so 80s. Oh, that's fun. You want to talk about iconic appliances from the 80s? Can I introduce you to the Dustbuster? Do you guys have one of these?
Dustbuster. Yes. Yes, we did.
These were, what's fun about
That
this is
that
when,
probably had to be.
go ahead.
I was gonna say that was one of my mom's favorite things I think she ever bought because you spilled had a couple crumbs from a cracker. Oh, go grab the dustbuster, clean that up.
Oh, man. And then on the other side of that, you had people who had a dustbuster but had the messiest house. And like, what's the point of having this thing if you're not going to use it? You know, well, it's just there. We don't want to mess it
Right.
up. That's what it's made for. What are you doing? Yep. All
Yeah.
right. We've talked about the Sony Walkman before. I didn't pull the graphic for it. They're pretty universal. This one, I guess, may have been the Walkman Sports Edition, which just meant it was in a fancier color than your black or dark blue. This particular one was yellow. So, I talked about Kool-Aid earlier. In those plastic cups. Generally, they were served in from these things.
Also
Still have.
Tupperware.
But I'll tell you what, Tupperware just had a lock on this industry, didn't it?
They did. Yep, my mom had. I want to say my mom had the yellow one,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that button you push down to make it airtight hurt your thumbs.
Yeah, it did. Yes, it did. You wouldn't. Appliances like that is what fucked us up more than anything that we did outside. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, except for them damn bike pedals.
And the metal slides. Yeah. The metal slides that would scald your skin as you're going down them. All right. And then finally, number 30, the Polaroid camera. We talked about this. This is what it looked like with your flash on the very top.
Oh,
This one you didn't have to get the individual cubes. It had like a built-in little flash gimmick, but your picture would come out right from the bottom, and you
yeah.
had to wait. I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minutes for it to come into focus, but that's how we got instant pictures back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the other ones they have here, the tape recorded answering machine, the beach chairs.
Yeah.
I should have pulled the picture for the beach chair because those were so 80s. Removing the faceplate from your car stereo so it wouldn't get ripped off. And then the ashtray from McDonald's because you could smoke back in there in that time. Okay, it looks like we lost Jill again. Well, I'm glad we were able to get the majority of. Let's see what's happening here. Yeah, well, we got her on here for the majority of the list. Oh, looks like she's trying to come back in.
I'm
Hi.
here. I don't know what's going on. I don't think Riverside likes me very much today because laptop and now I'm on my phone. And I'm getting no love from Riverside.
Riverside needs to calm down. Yeah, it's. But I mean, we are at the end of the list as far as what we're going to tackle this week. But it was fun going back and actually showing the folks that this.
Oh,
We've talked about a few of these things before, but unless you were there, you didn't really have a grasp as to what that looked like or what the dynamic of that was. So it was fun to actually pull some graphics here this week and have visual aids to go along with what we're talking about. So I may have set the bar a little bit too high for us because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that each and every week, but I will try. I think I think once I take this into post and work out all the bugs, and hopefully it's going to be a smooth presentation as people are watching
hopefully.
this.
I don't know why Riverside is not liking me, but
I had a little bit of issues last night when I did the live stream for the flagship show. But it waited until it was at the end of the show or towards the end of the show. It started fucking up. So I'm wondering if it's trying to tell us we have an unofficial time limit, and if we're not off the air by this time, we're going to start hitting the glitch button.
yeah, maybe.
Weirder things have happened, you know. Well, let's go ahead and wind this down while we still have you on here before it decides to kick you off again. But this was a
Right.
very fun episode.
It
Certainly
was.
appreciate it. Yeah, it was fun. So we'll next week we'll get back to it, and hopefully Riverside will get its shit all squared away, and it'll be a smoother sailing episode. We encourage you to check out the online store, pfcstore.printify.me, or pfcsummer.printify.me for our exclusive summer lineup. Head over to pfcnetwork.net. We're actually in the process of updating that website. The homepage was worked on last night, so there's some new stuff on there. Keep checking back for more news, notes, and information on this show and all the other great shows here on the network. And you can check out Jill and her daughter Judy on Sundays with Creepy Soup right here on the PFC network. With that, we appreciate you tuning in. Go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other, and we'll see you next week on What the 80s here on the PFC Entertainment Network.